The apartment is silent when police arrive at 4:15 in the morning on June 15, 2023. No forced entry. No ransacked drawers. No missing valuables. Just a door left slightly open and the smell that comes when violence sits undiscovered for hours. The living room looks normal at first glance. Expensive furniture. Framed photographs on the walls showing a man and woman cooking together, laughing, their faces close in the way people's faces get when they believe no one else is watching. But when officers step into the kitchen, they find what the neighbors' 3:47 a.m. call described. A man on the floor, face down in a pool of blood that has already started to dry at the edges. A marble mortar and pestle abandoned near his left hand, its surface stained dark. And sitting against the refrigerator with her knees pulled to her chest and her eyes open but unseeing, a small woman in a work uniform covered in blood that is not hers. The man is Fahad Al-Sabah, 36 years old, senior relationship manager at one of the city's most respected banks, member of a family whose name appears on business directories and wedding announcements in equal measure. The woman is Marisol de la Cruz, 27 years old, Filipina receptionist, foreign worker, nobody. Except she is not nobody. When forensic teams search the apartment later that morning, they will find a marriage contract dated March 15, 2021. They will find videos on a hidden hard drive showing domestic intimacy, the kind that does not perform for cameras but simply exists. They will find text messages where he calls her my wife, and she calls him my husband, in 2 languages across 2 years. But here is the thing no one in that apartment knows yet. Hours earlier, 23 days earlier to be exact, another woman sat in an office across the city watching these same videos on a laptop screen. That woman's name is Maha Al-Qasimi, and according to every legal document that matters, she is Fahad Al-Sabah's only wife. She is the daughter of Khalid Al-Qasimi, a man whose phone calls move money and end careers. And as she watched footage of her husband cooking dinner in an apartment she did not know existed with a woman whose name she had never heard, she did not scream. She did not cry. She did not throw the laptop across the room. She sat very still for 10 minutes. Then she picked up her phone and made a single call to her father. Not a plea. An instruction. Within 72 hours, Marisol de la Cruz would be accused of stealing controlled medication from her workplace. She would be fired publicly, escorted out by security while patients filmed on their phones. She would be arrested, her passport confiscated, her visa status marked under investigation, and the man she called husband would go silent, not because he stopped loving her, but because the woman who owned his public life made it very clear what would happen if he did not. For 3 weeks, Marisol would spiral. No job, no money, no way home, no word from the man who promised her legitimacy and protection. And on the night of June 14th, when he finally sent her a message from a burner phone asking her to meet him one last time, she would arrive at that apartment carrying 3 weeks of rage and grief and the dawning realization that maybe love was just another word for being used. What happened between 11:07 p.m. on June 14th and 12:20 a.m. on June 15th will later be reconstructed from blood spatter patterns, autopsy reports, and the confession of a woman too exhausted to lie. But before we walk into that kitchen and count the blows and measure the angles, we need to go back. We need to meet these people when they still believed their story would end differently. We need to understand how a girl who counted coins in a house with a leaking roof became a woman holding a bloodied weapon. How a man born into expectations became a body on a kitchen floor. And how the real killer, the one who set all of this in motion with phone calls and fabricated accusations and the surgical application of power, will walk away without a single stain on her hands. Welcome to the story of 3 people caught in a system where love is theft, marriage is territory, and sometimes the person who presses send on a message is more dangerous than the person who swings the weapon. This is not a story about a crime of passion. This is a story about what happens when survival meets power, when dignity has a price tag, and when the space between wife and mistress is nothing more than whose father knows the right people. Before the courtroom, before the police station, before the villa in Jabriya and the medical complex in Salmiya, before the word murder is ever attached to her name. Before any of that, there is a small concrete house in Barangay San Isidro, Laguna Province, where the roof leaks when the rain comes hard and a girl learns mathematics that have nothing to do with school. It is September 12, 1995, and Marisol de la Cruz is born during a brownout, which is what they call it when the power goes out in the middle of the day because the grid cannot handle the load. Her mother labors by candlelight in a bedroom the size of a closet while a midwife who smells like sampaguita and rubbing alcohol tells her to push, push, the head is coming. When Marisol finally arrives, small and loud and furious at the heat, her father holds her for 30 seconds, says a girl, with neither approval nor disappointment, and goes outside to smoke. He has 2 younger daughters already. He wanted a son. But children are what God gives you, and you make them useful however you can. The house they bring her home to sits at the end of a dirt road that turns to mud 6 months of the year. Concrete walls, tin roof, no ceiling, just the corrugated metal and the sound of rain like 1,000 fists pounding when the monsoon comes. They share a bathroom with 3 other families. The kitchen is a corner with a gas burner and a plastic basin for washing. There is one bed where her parents sleep, and a mat on the floor where the children arrange themselves like puzzle pieces. Her father, Rodrigo, works construction in Manila. He leaves Monday before dawn and comes back Friday after dark. The money he brings home covers rice, electricity when they have it, school fees when they must. Her mother, Elena, is a seamstress who takes in washing when the sewing is slow. She scrubs other people's clothes in a plastic tub in their tiny yard, her knuckles going raw and red, hanging shirts and bedsheets on a line strung between the house and a rusted fence. Marisol's earliest memory is not of love or comfort. It is of her mother counting coins on the wooden table under the single bulb that hangs from a wire. 5 peso coins, 1 peso coins, 25 centavo pieces that barely buy anything anymore. Her mother's lips moving silently, adding, subtracting, moving small piles around like a general arranging troops before a battle she knows she will lose. When Marisol is 8 years old, in the year 2003, her father does not come home on Friday or Saturday. On Sunday morning, 2 men from his construction company arrive at the house in a truck with its exhaust pipe held on by wire. They stand in the doorway holding their hard hats and tell her mother that there was an accident. Scaffolding collapsed. 3 men fell 4 stories. 1 died instantly. 1 is in the hospital and might live. Rodrigo de la Cruz died on the way to the emergency room with a piece of rebar through his chest. The company gives them 18,000 pesos. It is enough to bury him in the town cemetery under a concrete slab with his name scratched into it by hand. It is enough to pay 2 months of rice and utilities. After that, the math stops working. Elena takes on more laundry. She sews late into the night, squinting by lamplight that makes her head ache. Marisol, 8 years old and the eldest, starts walking to the Sari Sari store 2 streets over after school, asking if they need help stocking shelves, sweeping floors, anything. The owner, Aling Berta, takes pity. She pays Marisol 20 pesos a day to work 3 hours after school. 20 pesos is 1 kilo of rice. 20 pesos is jeepney fare for her brother to get to school when it rains too hard to walk. 20 pesos is the difference between eating twice a day or once. This is when Marisol learns the first rule that will govern her entire life. Love is not what you say. Love is what you send. Love is math. And if the math does not work, love dies. On a specific evening that she will remember for the rest of her life, October 14, 2003, her youngest brother gets dengue fever. His temperature spikes to 104. His gums bleed. Her mother carries him 2 kilometers to the health clinic, but they say he needs a hospital. The hospital is in the next town. The bill for 3 days is 4,000 pesos. Her mother pays it with money borrowed from a neighbor at 15% interest per month. When they come home, her mother sits at the table and counts what is left. Marisol watches from the doorway. 42 pesos. The rice pot in the corner is less than 1/4 full. It is 11 days until her mother gets paid for the laundry she delivered last week. Her mother does not notice Marisol watching at first. Her face does something Marisol has never seen before. It collapses inward like a structure losing its frame, like something that has been holding itself together through sheer will finally admitting it cannot. Her hands start to shake. She puts them flat on the table as if the wood can steady what is breaking inside her. Then she looks up and sees her daughter. She does not lie. She does not say it will be fine. She does not perform optimism for a child who is old enough to count. She says in Tagalog, her voice steady now, steady in the way that costs something, Marisol, you are the eldest. One day you will lift us. It is not a blessing. It is a job description. And from that evening forward, Marisol carries it like a weight in her chest that never fully dissolves. By 14, in 2009, she is working at the Sari Sari store every day after school and on Saturdays. By 16, she is also doing bookkeeping for Alingberta, writing down sales in a ledger, tracking which customers owe money. She is good with numbers. She has to be. Numbers are not negotiable. Numbers do not care about your feelings. Numbers just tell you whether you survive the month or not. She graduates high school in March of 2013 with honors that mean nothing. There is no money for university. She watches classmates leave for Manila, for Cebu, for call centers and nursing programs and lives that will lift them out of places like this. She stays. She enrolls in a 2-year secretarial course at the local technical college because it costs 18,000 pesos total, which she has saved over 3 years of working at the store, and because her mother's health is deteriorating. Diabetes, high blood pressure, medication that costs 3,000 pesos a month. The secretarial course teaches her typing, basic accounting, office correspondence, and English business phrases. Good morning, how may I help you? Please hold while I transfer your call. Let me check the schedule. She learns to smile while saying these things. She learns that a pleasant voice can make people forget you have an accent. She learns that being useful is more important than being seen. She finishes the program in May of 2015. She is 19 years old. She gets a job as a receptionist at a small office in the town center. She earns 8,000 pesos a month, 160 American dollars. She gives 6,000 to her mother, keeps 2,000 for herself, which covers her food, her phone, the occasional new shirt from the market. It is not enough. It will never be enough. Her mother's medication alone takes half of what Marisol contributes. Her brother wants to go to technical school to learn welding. That is another expense. Her younger sister needs supplies for high school, a uniform, books. The roof still leaks. The bathroom they share with 3 other families is falling apart. Every month is a calculation that does not balance. In January of 2016, a woman from Manila comes to the town giving a presentation at the church hall about overseas employment. Marisol goes because Carmen, a neighbor who worked in Dubai for 5 years and came back with enough money to build a 2-story house, told her to go. The woman from the recruitment agency stands in front of a projector showing images of clean hospitals, modern apartments, and women in neat uniforms smiling at cameras. She talks about opportunities in Kuwait, Saudi Arabia, Qatar, the United Arab Emirates. She talks about salaries. Receptionist positions, she says, start at 400 Kuwaiti dinar per month. That is approximately 43,000 pesos. That is 1,300 American dollars. Marisol sits in a plastic chair in the back of that church hall and does math in her head. 400 dinar is 5 times what she makes now. 400 dinar is her mother's medication plus her brother's school plus her sister's supplies plus money to fix the roof plus savings. 400 dinar is the difference between surviving and actually living. She goes home that night and tells her mother she wants to apply. Her mother cries, not because she does not want Marisol to go, because she knows this is what love looks like in families like theirs. You send your children away so they can send money back. You trade proximity for survival. You learn to love people through wire transfers and video calls and the hope that someday, maybe, you will all be in the same place again. The application process takes 6 months. Medical exams, police clearance, passport application, training seminars where they teach you how to address employers, how to keep your head down, how to avoid situations that can be misread. The agency fee is 45,000 pesos. Marisol does not have it. Her mother borrows it from the same neighbor who lent them money for the hospital, this time at 20% interest. In August of 2016, Marisol boards a plane at Ninoy Aquino International Airport. She is 20 years old. She has never been on a plane before. She carries 1 suitcase containing 3 changes of clothes, a rosary her mother pressed into her hand at the airport, a photo of her family, and the address of the staff housing where she will live in Kuwait. She does not cry at the airport. She made a rule for herself on the bus to Manila. Crying is for people who have the luxury of feelings. She has math to do. The plane lands at Kuwait International Airport on August 28, 2016, at 11:35 p.m. The heat when she steps outside is different from home. Dry and enormous, like opening an oven. The air smells like jet fuel and cardamom and sand. A driver is waiting with a sign that says, Marisol de la Cruz. Her name is spelled wrong. She does not correct him. She has already learned from the training, be agreeable, be invisible, do not make yourself a problem. He drives her to a building in Farwania where 8 Filipinas share a 4-bedroom apartment. She is given a bed in a room with 3 other women. They are all quiet that first night. They have all done the same math. They are all carrying the same weight. Her first job is at Al-Khalij Medical Center. Front desk receptionist. 12-hour shifts, 6 days a week. She wears a navy uniform with a name tag that says, M. Dela Cruz, reception. She checks in patients, answers phones, schedules appointments, apologizes for delays she has no control over. She earns 400 dinar a month. On September 1, 2016, she sends 280 dinar home. 9,200 pesos. More money than her mother has seen in one transfer in her entire life. Her mother calls her crying. Marisol, this is too much. Keep more for yourself. Marisol says, it's okay, Mama. I'm okay here. She is not okay. She is exhausted. She is lonely. She shares a bathroom with 7 other women. She eats rice and canned sardines most nights because saving money means eating cheap. But she is doing what she came here to do. She is lifting them. In October of 2016, 3 months into her job, a supervisor yells at her in front of a waiting room full of patients because she mispronounced the name of a doctor over the intercom. The supervisor is a Kuwaiti woman, maybe 40 years old, with perfect makeup and a sharp voice. She does not ask what happened. She just points at Marisol and says loudly, you need to be more careful. We cannot have mistakes like this. Marisol says, I'm very sorry, ma'am. It won't happen again. She does not explain that the doctor's name was Dr. Al-Muteri and she said Al-Muteri because the script was handwritten and unclear. She does not defend herself. She learned in training, you apologize. You move on. Your dignity is not worth your visa. In December of 2016, a male patient, maybe 55 years old, Emirati, expensive watch, asks for her phone number while she processes his paperwork. She smiles politely and says, I'm sorry, sir. I cannot give out personal information. He leans closer. Just your number. For tea. She repeats, still smiling, I'm very sorry, sir. It's against policy. He leaves. 20 minutes later, the same supervisor who yelled at her calls her into the back office. That patient complained. He said you were rude to him. Marisol, confused, ma'am, I was polite. He asked for my number and I said I couldn't give it. Supervisor, you need to be friendlier. These are important patients. Smile more. Marisol receives a written warning. She learns, your boundaries are not as important as their comfort. In March of 2017, another Filipina at the medical center, a woman named Grace who works in the pharmacy, is arrested and deported. The reason given is moral indecency. Grace was found texting a male coworker, also Filipino, after hours. The texts were not sexual. They were just 2 people talking. But someone reported it. The employer reviewed her phone. She was fired, arrested, and deported within a week. Marisol learns, visibility is dangerous. The best way to survive is to be so unremarkable that no one notices you at all. By June of 2018, she has been in Kuwait for almost 2 years. She transfers to a better facility, Premier Medical Complex. It is cleaner, more modern, catering to wealthy locals and expatriates. Her pay increases to 450 dinar per month. She gets her own room in staff housing, a small miracle. 10 square meters, a bed, a desk, private bathroom. The first time she closes the door and realizes she is alone, actually alone, she sits on the bed and breathes differently. She video calls home every Friday after her shift. Her mother's blood sugar is under control now. Her brother finished technical school and has a job at a welding shop. Her sister is doing well in school. The roof has been repaired. They are not rich, but they are stable. And that stability exists because Marisol is here. She is 23 years old. She has not been home in 2 years. She has not dated anyone. She has not made close friends outside of the 2 other Filipinas she eats with on her day off. 8 Carmen, who is a nurse at another hospital, and Lynn, who works reception at a law firm. They meet for lunch, talk about exchange rates and whose employer is reasonable and who got yelled at this week. They do not talk about loneliness. They do not talk about how it feels to be 23 and living like you are 50, all responsibility and no joy. On the night of January 6, 2019, Marisol sits in her small room and writes in her journal. She writes in Tagalog because even her private thoughts need to be protected from employers who sometimes walk into rooms without knocking. She writes, 7 more years. If I can do 7 more years, I can go home with enough savings to open a small business. Maybe a sari-sari store like Aling Berta's. Maybe something else. 7 more years and I can stop counting. She does not know that tomorrow morning, a man in an expensive suit will watch her being humiliated in front of patients and feel something shift in his chest. She does not know his name yet. She does not know he is married. She does not know that he is just as trapped as she is, only his cage has marble floors. She closes the journal. She sets her alarm for 6 a.m. She lies down in the dark and thinks about her mother's voice on the phone last Friday, stronger than it has been in years, saying, "I'm proud of you, Anik." That is what she holds on to. That is what makes the counting worth it. For now. Fahad Al-Sabah is born on April 3, 1987, in a private hospital in Jabriya during a sandstorm that shuts down half the city. His father, Hamza Al-Sabah, paces the waiting room in a thobe that is perfectly pressed even at 2 o'clock in the morning, because men of a certain class do not let circumstances dictate their appearance. When the nurse finally comes out and says, "It's a boy," Hamza closes his eyes for 3 seconds, a brief flicker of relief, and then composes himself. A boy. The first boy. The one who will carry the family forward. Hamza works for the Ministry of Commerce, mid-level management, respectable salary, enough to live in a nice villa in a good neighborhood but not enough to be counted among the truly powerful. The Al-Sabah name is old, which counts for something, but not wealthy, which counts for more. They exist in that specific stratum of Kuwaiti society where reputation is everything because money is not enough to insulate you from judgment. Fahad grows up understanding that he is being raised for a purpose, not to be happy, to be exemplary. His father's favorite phrase, repeated at the dinner table, in the car during family gatherings, is, "We are Al-Sabahs. We carry our name carefully." What that means in practice is, no mistakes, no embarrassments, no public failures, no choices that prioritize personal desire over family reputation. When Fahad is 14 years old, in the summer of 2001, he is sitting in the hallway outside his father's study doing homework when he hears his father on the phone. The door is slightly open. His father is talking to someone about a cousin, a man named Kasimi, who recently married a woman from a lower family. His father's voice is low but edged with something sharp. Now his children will always be half respectable. He chose pleasure over legacy. And for what? So he could marry someone his mother didn't approve? Now every opportunity that comes to him will have an asterisk. People will remember. Fahad sits very still in the hallway. He does not move until the phone call ends and his father closes the door fully. But the lesson is absorbed. Love is a luxury. Marriage is strategy. Feelings are something you control, not something you follow. He is a good student. Not brilliant, but disciplined and socially adept in the way that matters more than grades in certain circles. He studies business at Kuwait University from 2005 to 2009. He joins the right student organizations. He makes the right friends. He graduates with honors. His father attends the ceremony and shakes his hand and says, "Good. Now do not waste it." Fahad lands a trainee position at Gulf Commerce Bank in 2009, entry-level but at a respected institution. He works long hours. He learns quickly. He is polite to senior managers. He dresses well. He shows up early and leaves late. By 2012, at 25 years old, he is promoted to junior relationship manager, handling portfolios for moderately wealthy clients, learning how money moves between families like blood through carefully constructed veins. He is also, by this point, exactly the kind of young man that families with daughters begin to notice. Handsome, employed at a good bank, from a respectable family, unmarried. His mother starts receiving inquiries, casual at first. "Your son is still single?" Then more direct. "There is a girl from a very good family. Perhaps we could arrange tea." In the spring of 2013, his mother and a distant aunt begin coordinating with another family. The Al-Qasimis. Fahad recognizes the name immediately. Khalid Al-Qasimi is the kind of man whose name appears in newspapers in the business section and whose phone calls can move approvals through government ministries. He sits on the boards of 3 major corporations. He has investments in real estate, construction, and telecommunications. He is not merely wealthy. He is connected, which in Kuwait is more valuable than wealth. The Al-Qassimists have a daughter, Maha, born in 1989, 2 years younger than Fahad. She has a degree in business administration from a private university, decorative rather than functional, because women of her class do not work. They manage households, social calendars, reputations. The families arrange 3 meetings before the formal engagement. The first is in the Al-Qassimi family's sitting room on a Thursday afternoon in May of 2013. Both sets of parents are present. Maha sits across from Fahad in a chair with perfect posture, wearing a designer abaya in soft gray, hands folded in her lap. She is beautiful in a way that seems engineered. Perfect skin, perfect hair, perfect neutral smile. They talk for 20 minutes. Surface topics. Where did you study? What do you do at the bank? Have you traveled? She answers in polite, measured sentences. He does the same. They are performing for the parents, and both of them know it. The second meeting is slightly less formal, though still chaperoned. The families have tea together in a hotel restaurant. There is talk about compatibility, about values, about futures that sound vague enough to mean anything. Fahad learns that Maha likes organizing events, that she manages her mother's social calendar, that she speaks French. She learns that he reads, that he works long hours, that he is close to his younger sisters. Neither of them asks the questions that matter. Are you kind? Do you laugh? Will you see me as a person or a function? Because those questions are not part of this process. The third meeting is in the Al-Qassimi garden. 30 minutes alone, though Maha's younger brother is visible across the courtyard, close enough to serve as a technical chaperone. They sit on a bench under a tree that has been trimmed into submission. Maha says, "My father thinks very highly of you." Fahad says, "I'm honored." She says, "I think we would be very compatible." He says, "I agree." That is the extent of the intimacy. 2 people agreeing to a merger. They are engaged in December of 2013. The ceremony has over 200 guests. Expensive gifts are exchanged. Fahad's father weeps with pride and says, "You have honored us, son." Fahad feels a sense of accomplishment, not joy, but he tells himself that joy is not the point. Duty is the point, and he is very, very good at duty. They marry on June 14, 2014. 800 guests at Al Bayan Wedding Hall, which is rented out months in advance and costs more than Fahad makes in a year. Maha's father pays for half of the wedding. This fact is mentioned casually by Khalid during a family dinner, not as a gift but as an investment. "I want my daughter to start her marriage in comfort." Fahad understands what is not being said. This is not generosity. This is a down payment on influence. Their wedding night is in a 5-star hotel suite that smells like roses and expensive carpet cleaner. It is awkward, mechanical, obligatory. Fahad tries to be gentle. Maha performs the motions with the emotional presence of someone checking off a task. When it is over, she goes into the bathroom for 20 minutes. When she comes out, she gets into bed and turns away from him. He lies awake staring at the ceiling and tells himself it will get better. Their honeymoon is 5 days in Dubai. They stay at the Burj Al Arab. They eat expensive meals. They take photos in front of famous landmarks. By the 3rd night, they are sleeping in separate beds. By the 5th night, Fahad finds himself relieved when it is time to go home, which is a feeling he knows is wrong but cannot deny. They move into a villa in Jabriya, purchased with money from Maha's father. This fact is also mentioned casually. "I want you to start your life without the stress of rent." Fahad thanks him. He does not mention that every time someone says Maha's father bought, what he hears is, "You are here because I allow it." In their first year, the shape of the marriage becomes clear. Maha takes control of everything domestic. She hires staff. She furnishes the house. She manages the budget. When Fahad tries to be involved, she says, "This is women's domain. You focus on your work." At first, he thinks this is reasonable, a division of labor, but slowly he realizes what it actually is. She is establishing territory. The house is hers. The social calendar is hers. The staff listens to her. His role is to show up, to look appropriate, to perform successful husband at the functions she organizes. Sex becomes routine. Once a week, scheduled implicitly around her cycle because they are expected to produce a child. It is efficient and emotionless. She never initiates. He initiates because it is expected, but he can feel her tolerance, not desire. Afterwards, she goes to shower immediately, as if washing off evidence. By their second year, Maha wants a child. Not because she has maternal instincts, but because a child is the next checkpoint in the marriage timeline. It does not happen. There is no medical reason. There is simply infrequent, perfunctory intimacy between two people who do not particularly like each other. She starts making comments, small cuts that land precisely. Maybe you're not man enough. My friends' husbands are more attentive. I wonder if I made a mistake. Fahad suggests they see a counselor. She laughs, actually laughs. What will people say? That we need help to stay married? Do you want to embarrass both our families? By year 3, Maha begins checking his phone. She has all his passwords. She tells him it is normal for wives to have access. When he hesitates, she says, "What are you hiding?" He gives her the passwords. She starts monitoring his schedule. "Why are you late? Who was at that meeting? Why didn't you tell me you had lunch with Samir?" She uses her father's connections to verify. Once, he mentions having coffee with a colleague, and she somehow knows the name of the cafe and the exact time. He realizes she is having him followed, or she has access to something he does not know about. He starts to feel like he is living under surveillance. At home, he asks permission to invite friends over. She approves or denies based on criteria she never explains. He stops inviting people. By year 4, he has stopped trying to connect. They sleep in the same bed but live on separate planets. She criticizes his weight. He has gained 8 kilograms since the wedding. She criticizes his clothes. That jacket makes you look like a clerk. She criticizes his conversation at dinner parties. You barely said anything to Khalid's business partner. Do you want people to think you're boring? He absorbs every comment, internalizes them, starts to believe that maybe he is inadequate. Maybe this is what marriage is. Maybe everyone lives like this and just does not talk about it. He does not fantasize about divorce. That is unthinkable. His parents would be devastated. His career would suffer. Khalid Al-Qasimi's influence has helped him move up at the bank, and everyone knows it. If he divorces Maha, he loses that protection. He becomes the man who could not keep his wife happy. In a society where family is structure, divorce is collapse. Instead, he fantasizes about disappearing, about waking up as someone else in a place where no one knows his name. He prays 5 times a day. In those brief moments on the prayer mat, he finds something close to peace. But when he stands up, the weight returns. By late 2018, Fahad Al-Sabah is a man who looks successful from the outside. He wears tailored suits. He drives a car that costs more than most people make in 2 years. He works at a respected bank. He has a beautiful wife from a powerful family. But late at night, when Maha is asleep and he is sitting in his study reading books she will never ask him about, he feels a specific kind of suffocation. The kind that makes you understand why people do irrational things. The kind that makes you think, if this is all there is, what is the point? On the evening of January 6, 2019, he sits in his car in the parking lot of Premier Medical Complex. It is 7:45 p.m. The sun has already set. He has a routine health checkup scheduled for the next morning, a requirement for his bank's executive insurance plan. His phone buzzes. "Maha, where are you?" "In my car. I have an appointment tomorrow morning. I'm just reviewing some files. Don't forget you need to ask the doctor about your cholesterol. And stop eating so much at lunch. My father noticed you've gained weight. I'll take care of it. Come home soon. My brother is coming for dinner this week. I need you to be present." "Okay." He ends the call, sits in silence. The parking lot is mostly empty. The air conditioning in the car hums. He thinks about going home to a house that does not feel like his, to a wife who sees him as a defective appliance, to a dinner where he will perform the role of good husband, while her family evaluates his performance. He thinks, if this is all there is, why does it feel like so little? He does not know that tomorrow morning, he will walk into that medical complex and see a small woman being humiliated at the front desk, and something in his chest will crack open. He does not know her name yet. He does not know that she will become his wife in secret, his refuge in private, and eventually the reason his life ends on a kitchen floor. But all of that is still ahead. For now, he is just a man sitting in a car, trying to remember what it felt like to want something. The morning of January 7, 2019, starts like every other morning at Premier Medical Complex. Marisol arrives at 7:45 a.m., 15 minutes before her shift begins. Because arriving exactly on time is treated as being late. She changes into her uniform in the staff locker room, pins her name tag to her chest, checks that her hair is smooth in its bun, and walks to the front desk where she will spend the next 12 hours answering phones, checking in patients, apologizing for delays she has no control over, and making herself as invisible as possible. By 10:15 that morning, the waiting area is full. A delayed doctor means backed up appointments, which means patients getting irritated, which means Marisol will absorb that irritation with apologies and offers of water and promises to check on the situation. She has done this hundreds of times. She knows the script by heart. An Emirati man in his 60s, expensive watch, traditional dress, has been waiting 25 minutes. He approaches the desk with the posture of someone who is not accustomed to waiting for anything. "I have been here nearly half an hour. This is unacceptable." Marisol stands, folds her hands in front of her, activates the smile that does not reach her eyes but looks polite enough. "I sincerely apologize, sir. Dr. Rahman had an emergency with a previous patient. I can reschedule your appointment if I don't want excuses from someone like you. Get me your manager." The words "someone like you" land exactly where they are meant to land. Marisol's smile does not falter. She has learned not to flinch at these small cuts. "Of course, sir. One moment, please." She calls the supervisor, a Kuwaiti woman named Rania, early 40s, who manages the front desk staff with the philosophy that the patient is always right and the foreign worker is always expendable. Rania arrives within 90 seconds, assesses the situation without asking Marisol what happened, and immediately begins apologizing to the patient in Arabic while gesturing toward Marisol in a way that makes it clear who is at fault. Then, in English, loud enough for the waiting room to hear, "Miss Dela Cruz, why didn't you inform him earlier about the delay?" "Ma'am, I only learned about it 5 minutes ago." "Don't make excuses. You should have anticipated this and managed expectations." Marisol knows there is no correct response here. Defending herself makes it worse. Agreeing makes her look incompetent. So she does what she has been trained to do. She bows her head slightly and says, "I'm very sorry, sir. This was my mistake." The patient leaves, still irritated but satisfied that someone was blamed. Rania turns to Marisol and says, in a lower voice but still audible to nearby patients, "You need to be more careful. We cannot afford mistakes like this." Marisol nods, says nothing, sits back down. Her face is neutral. Inside, she is doing the same calculation she always does. Is this worth losing my visa over? The answer is always no, so she absorbs it. What she does not see is the man standing 15 feet away near the information board, holding a form he has already filled out, who has been watching this entire interaction. Fahad al-Sabah had arrived 10 minutes earlier for his 10:30 appointment. He has been standing there reviewing paperwork when the patient started yelling. He watched the small woman behind the desk try to help. He watched her get interrupted, dismissed, blamed for something that clearly was not her fault. He watched her supervisor humiliate her in front of strangers. And he watched her accept it with a professionalism that he recognizes because he performs a similar act every day in different circumstances. When the supervisor walks away and the waiting room settles back into its tense quiet, Fahad approaches the desk. Marisol looks up, her polite smile already in place, her defenses already activated. "Yes, sir. How may I help you?" "I need to check in. Appointment with Dr. Zahir at 10:30. She takes his civil ID, processes it efficiently, hands it back. "You're all set, sir. Please have a seat. The nurse will call you shortly." He should walk away. He should sit down and wait for his name. Instead, he says quietly, "That wasn't your fault. What happened earlier?" Marisol's hands freeze on the keyboard. She looks up at him, trying to assess whether this is a trap. Men do not usually acknowledge things like this, especially not men in expensive suits. "Sir, the patient who was upset. The delay. I saw the whole thing. You handled it well." She does not know what to say. In 2.5 years of working in Kuwait, she can count on one hand the number of times a local man has said something to her that was not a command or a criticism or a proposition. "Thank you, sir. That's very kind." Fahad sees the wariness in her face. He recognizes it. It is the look of someone who has learned that kindness often comes with conditions. "It's not kindness," he says. "It's just truth." He walks to the waiting area and sits down. Marisol stares at her computer screen for 10 seconds without seeing it. Then someone approaches the desk with a question, and she returns to the script, but something small has shifted. Someone saw what happened. Someone said it was not her fault. It is the smallest thing. But when you have been invisible for years, even the smallest acknowledgement feels like light. 2 weeks later, on January 21st, Fahad returns for a follow-up blood test. When he approaches the desk, Marisol recognizes him immediately. He asks, "Is Miss Dela Cruz working today?" Which startles her because patients do not usually ask for her by name. "Yes, sir. I'm here." "Do you have an appointment?" "Yes. Follow up with Dr. Zahir." She checks him in. As she hands back his ID, he says, "I wanted to apologize, sir, for how people here forget their manners when someone is foreign. It's not right." This is the second time he has acknowledged her as a person, not a function. Marisol feels something loosen in her chest, something she has kept clamped down for so long she forgot it was there. "It's okay, sir. It's part of the job. It shouldn't be." There is a pause. Then he asks, "Where are you from?" "The Philippines, sir." "How long have you been here?" 2.5 years. "Do you get to go home often?" "Not yet, sir. Maybe next year." He nods. Then he does something that will matter more than either of them realizes in the moment. He takes out a business card from his wallet and places it on the desk. "If you ever need help with bureaucracy, paperwork, anything like that, you can call me. I know people who can make things easier." Marisol looks at the card. Fahad Al-Sabah, Senior Relationship Manager, Gulf Commerce Bank. There is a phone number and an email address. "Sir, that's very generous, but no obligation, just if you need it." He walks to the waiting area. Marisol holds the card for a moment, then slips it into her pocket. She does not throw it away. Over the next 3 months, from February through April of 2019, Fahad finds reasons to return to the medical complex. A consultation about his cholesterol, a checkup for a minor issue, picking up test results that could have been emailed. Each time he stops at Marisol's desk. Each time they talk for 2 or 3 minutes. The conversations are surface level but accumulate into something deeper. She learns he works in banking, that he reads history books, that he seems lonely despite the expensive watch and the tailored clothes. He learns that she sends most of her money home, that she supports her mother and siblings, that she has not been back to the Philippines in years, that she moves through the world with a careful grace that comes from knowing one wrong step could cost her everything. In May of 2019, the dynamic shifts. On May 18th, a Saturday, Marisol's phone rings during her shift. It is her younger sister calling from home, which is unusual because they normally video call on Fridays. Marisol steps away from the desk during a brief lull and answers. Her sister is crying. Their mother collapsed that morning. She is in the hospital. They think it is a stroke. They need to pay for tests for treatment for a neurologist. The amount is $3,000 American. They do not have it. Marisol stands in the staff hallway with the phone pressed to her ear and feels the ground tilt. $3,000 is more than 2 months of her salary, even if she sent every single peso. Even if she stopped eating. Even if she borrowed. The math does not work. She goes back to the desk. Her eyes are red, but she is not crying. She learned a long time ago how to function through crisis. But her hands shake slightly when she types. Fahad comes in 20 minutes later for a scheduled appointment. When he approaches the desk, he sees immediately that something is wrong. "Are you all right?" "Yes, sir. I'm fine. How may I help you?" "You're not fine." She looks up at him. For the first time, her professional mask cracks. "It's just, my mother. She's in the hospital. But it's okay. I'll figure it out." What happened? She should not tell him. He is a patient, not a friend. But the weight is too heavy, and for some reason, his face is kind, and before she can stop herself, she tells him. The stroke, the hospital, the money they do not have. Fahad listens. Then he says, "Let me help." "No, sir, I couldn't." "How much do you need?" "Sir, please, I can't take your money. It's not a gift. Call it a loan. Pay me back whenever you can. Or don't. But let me do this." She stares at him. "Why would you do this for me?" He does not have a good answer for that. Or rather, the answer is too complicated to say out loud in a medical complex lobby. So he just says, "Because you deserve kindness, and I need to give it." That evening, he transfers the money to the account number she provides with shaking hands. $3,000 American. More money than she has ever seen in one place that was not being immediately divided and sent and spent. When her sister confirms the transfer and says the hospital will start treatment, Marisol sits in her small room and cries for the first time in 2 years. Not sad crying, overwhelmed crying. The kind that comes when you have been holding yourself together for so long that one act of unexpected kindness breaks the dam. She calls Fahad that night. "Why did you do this?" His voice is quiet on the phone. "Because you needed it. And because when I'm near you, I remember what it feels like to be human. That is the moment. That is when invisible becomes visible. When patient becomes person. When the distance between their worlds collapses into something neither of them planned for." They start texting, carefully at first. He asks about her mother's recovery. She asks about his day. The texts get longer, more personal. He starts calling in the evenings when Maha is asleep or occupied. They talk for hours. She tells him about growing up poor, about the weight of being the eldest, about how every decision she makes is calculated against how much she can send home. He tells her about growing up with expectations instead of love, about a marriage that feels like a prison with good furniture, about how exhausting it is to perform stability when you feel like you are suffocating. In July of 2019, they meet outside the medical complex for the first time. A small cafe in Salmiya, quiet corner, late afternoon. This is the line they are crossing, from professional acquaintance to something else. Fahad arrives first. Marisol arrives 5 minutes later, nervous, wearing jeans and a simple blouse instead of her uniform. She looks younger without the professional armor. They sit across from each other. He orders Arabic coffee. She orders tea. And then he tells her the truth she already suspected but needed to hear directly. "I'm married." Marisol's hands tighten around her cup. "I thought you might be. It's not what you think. Let me explain." And he does. He tells her about the arranged marriage, about Maha's family, about the control, the coldness, the surveillance, about how divorce would destroy him professionally and socially, about how he has been dying slowly for 5 years. When he finishes, she asks the only question that matters. "Why are you telling me this?" "Because when I'm near you, I remember what it feels like to be a person, and I'm terrified of losing that." She should walk away. She knows this. She has seen what happens to women who get involved with married men, especially foreign women with powerful local men. It ends in deportation or worse, but she also knows what it is to be starving. Not for food, for matching. "I can't be the reason your life falls apart," she says. "You're not destroying anything. You're the only thing keeping me alive." They do not kiss that day. They do not touch except when their hands brush reaching for the check. But they both know there is no going back. From July 2019 through December 2020, they build a life in the margins. They meet once a week, sometimes twice, in his old bachelor apartment that Maha does not know about. They talk for hours. They cook together. She teaches him Tagalog words. He teaches her Arabic phrases. They watch movies on his laptop. They fall asleep on his couch and wake up tangled together, both of them surprised by how easy it is to be close to someone who actually sees you. In December of 2019, they become lovers. It is not rushed or furtive. It happens on a Friday night after they have cooked dinner together and she is washing dishes and he comes up behind her and wraps his arms around her waist and says into her hair, "I don't want to lose this. I don't want to lose you." She turns around. They look at each other. And then they move to the bedroom and what happens there is tender and overwhelming and both of them cry afterward because this is what they did not know they were missing. Not just physical intimacy. Intimacy where you are seen. They start recording moments. Not sexual. Documentary. She films him cooking, laughing, calling her Habibti in Arabic, which means my love. He films her singing while folding laundry, falling asleep reading on his couch, making jokes in Tagalog. They save these videos like proof. Proof that they existed. Proof that they mattered to someone. By late 2020, Fahad knows he cannot keep living in two worlds. The distance between the man he is with Marisol and the man he is with Maha is tearing him apart. In October, after another family dinner where Maha spent 2 hours criticizing him in front of her parents, he makes a decision. He cannot divorce Maha, but he can marry Marisol. Islamic law allows a man to have a second wife. Technically, the first wife should consent, but if the marriage is done quietly, if the paperwork exists but stays private, he can give Marisol legitimacy without triggering the social explosion that a divorce would cause. He researches. He finds a sheikh willing to perform a discreet nikah. He talks to Marisol about it in November. I want to marry you. Properly. Legally. She stares at him. Fahad, that's impossible. It's not. I can do this. I want to do this. Your wife. She doesn't have to know. Not yet. Maybe someday, but not yet. I need you to be protected. I need this to be real. Marisol knows this is dangerous, but she also knows what it means to be just a mistress versus a wife. One is disposable. One has rights. On March 15, 2021, they marry in a small office in Farwania district. The sheikh asks her, through a translator, "Do you accept this marriage?" She says yes in Arabic, in Tagalog, in English. The mahr, the dowry, is set at 5,000 Kuwaiti dinar. Fahad pays it immediately. The contract is signed. Witnesses sign. The sheikh says, "You are married in the eyes of God." They both cry. Takes 30 minutes. It changes everything. That night, in his apartment, he calls her my wife for the first time out loud. She calls him my husband. They cook dinner together. Filipino spaghetti and Arabic coffee. They film themselves laughing, teasing, at peace. For 14 months, from March 2021 to May 2022, they live in this secret. They build a life in stolen hours. And they believe, because they have to, that no one is watching. But someone is always watching. Maha Al-Qasimi does not notice the change in her husband with her heart. She does not love Fahad, has never loved him, so his emotional state is not something she tracks through affection. She tracks it through control. And in April of 2021, the control starts to feel different. Fahad has changed in ways that are small enough to miss if you are not paying attention. But Maha pays attention to everything. Attention is power. He smiles at breakfast now. Not at her, but in general, like someone who has a reason to be pleased that the day is starting. He used to be silent in the mornings, moving through the meal with the energy of someone getting through an obligation. Now he seems almost light. When she criticizes him, he does not flinch anymore. He used to defend himself, apologize, try harder. Now he just nods and continues whatever he was doing, as if her words do not land. He comes home late more often, not apologetically, just factually. I had a meeting that ran long. I stopped for coffee. He does not elaborate. He does not seem concerned that she might be upset. The most alarming change is this. He has stopped trying to please her. For 5 years, Fahad has performed the role of attentive husband. Not successful, but trying. Now he has stopped trying. And a man does not stop performing unless he has found a better audience. On April 22, 2021, they are having dinner with her parents. Her father is talking about a business deal. Fahad is listening politely but not contributing much. Maha, attempting to draw him into the conversation, makes a comment designed to sting. Fahad has been letting himself go lately. I keep telling him he needs to watch his weight. In the past, Fahad would have smiled uncomfortably and said something like, "You're right, I need to be more disciplined." Instead, he says calmly, "I'm fine as I am." The table goes quiet for half a second. Maha's father raises an eyebrow. Her mother looks at her plate. Fahad continues eating. Maha feels something she has not felt in this marriage before. Not anger. Alarm. This is not rebellion. Rebellion is loud. This is indifference. And indifference means he has somewhere else to put his energy. That night, after they return home, she checks his phone while he is in the shower. She has all his passwords. She has checked periodically for years, more out of habit than suspicion. Tonight she is looking for something specific. She finds nothing. His messages are routine. Work emails, texts to his sisters, a group chat with university friends about meeting for lunch. Nothing suspicious, which means he is hiding it well, which means it is serious. Over the next month, May 2021, Maha conducts her own quiet investigation. She checks his credit card statements, mostly normal purchases, some cash withdrawals but not unusual amounts. She asks his secretary where he has been. Client meetings, madam. Normal schedule. She asks his mother if he has mentioned anyone new. No, dear. Why? Is something wrong? Everything looks clean on the surface. But Maha has learned from her father that when something looks too clean, it usually means someone is wiping it down. In June 2021, she makes a decision. She is not going to handle this herself. She is going to do what powerful people do when they need information. She is going to pay someone who knows how to find what is hidden. She calls her cousin Faisal, who runs a corporate security firm that does risk assessment for businesses, which is a polite way of saying industrial espionage and background checks that go deeper than legal. They meet at his office on June 8th. Bland building. 3rd floor. Unmarked door. "I think my husband is hiding something," she says without preamble. "I need to know what it is." Faisal does not ask if she is sure. He does not suggest marriage counseling. He just says, "I have someone who can help. But Maha, if we find something, you cannot unsee it. Find it." He introduces her to Samir, late 30s, quiet, the kind of person who makes you forget his face 5 minutes after meeting him, which is the point. Samir's specialty is digital infiltration. He has worked for telecom companies, government contractors, and private clients who need to know what people are saying when they think no one is listening. The meeting is brief. Maha explains. She needs to know where her husband goes, who he talks to, what he is hiding. Samir quotes a price, 3,000 Kuwaiti dinar. She does not negotiate. She transfers half up front. How long will this take? Depends on how careful he is. 2 weeks to 2 months. Start now. Samir starts with the basics. He plants a GPS tracker in Fahad's car during a Friday afternoon when Fahad is at the mosque. Takes 10 minutes. The device is smaller than a matchbox, magnetic, hidden under the chassis where no one would find it without knowing to look. For 2 weeks, Samir tracks Fahad's movements. Work, home, medical complex in Salmiya, multiple times per week, and an apartment building in Salmiya that Fahad visits 2 to 3 times per week, staying for hours. By mid-July, Samir has enough to move to the next phase. He sends Fahad a text message from a spoofed number that appears to be from his bank. Security alert. Click here to verify your account. It is a standard phishing technique. Fahad, distracted during a meeting, clicks the link. The malware installs silently. Samir now has access to Fahad's phone. Texts, calls, photos, everything. Within 48 hours, Samir discovers the second phone number. It is harder to access because Fahad keeps that phone separate, but Samir cross-references the GPS data with cell tower pings and identifies when Fahad is using the secondary device. By late July, he has broken the encryption on the messaging app Fahad uses on that phone. The messages are careful. No explicit sexual content, but the intimacy is obvious. "Good morning, Habibti. I miss you. I'm counting the hours until I see you." And most damning, "I love you, my wife." My wife. Samir also accesses Fahad's iCloud backup. The password is weak, a combination of Fahad's birth year and his mother's name. Security question answers are easy to guess with basic social engineering. The cloud backup contains everything: photos, videos, documents. On September 28, 2021, Samir meets Maha at her father's office. Private, secure, soundproof. He hands her a USB drive and a printed summary. The summary includes: subject, Fahad al-Sabah investigation period, June 15th to September 25th, 2021. Key findings: regular contact with Marisol de la Cruz, Filipina national, age 25, employed as receptionist at Premier Medical Complex. Relationship timeline estimated at 2+ years based on message history. Evidence of cohabitation at secondary residence, apartment in Salmiya, lease under corporate shell name. Critical discovery: marriage contract dated March 15, 2021, registered under Islamic law, Mar paid in full. Maha reads the summary 3 times. Then she looks at Samir. "Can I see the videos? Are you sure? Show me." Samir opens his laptop and plays the first file. Marisol in casual clothes, barefoot, cooking in a kitchen Maha has never seen. Fahad behind her, laughing, stealing food from the cutting board. He wraps his arms around her waist, kisses her neck. She giggles and says, "Fahad, stop, it's burning." He says, "I love you." She says, "I love you too, husband." Maha watches without expression. Samir plays another. Fahad and Marisol on a couch, her head on his shoulder, both reading. Comfortable, domestic, real. Another. Morning light, bed. Marisol filming selfie style. Fahad half asleep, smiling when he sees the camera. She says, I want to remember this. He says, remember what? She says, that you're real, that we're real. Maha watches 47 videos. She looks at 300 photos. She reads text messages spanning 2 years. When it is finished, she closes the laptop. She does not cry. She does not scream. She sits in silence for 10 minutes while Samir waits. Then she says, I need copies of everything, and I need you to monitor both of them going forward. I want to know where they go, when they meet, what they say. What are you going to do? Maha stands. What I should have done the moment I suspected. I'm going to remind my husband who he belongs to. She does not mean she is going to fight for his love. She does not love him. She means she is going to destroy the woman who stole her property. And she is going to make Fahad watch. Because this is not about heartbreak. This is about power. And Maha Al-Qasimi did not grow up in one of the most powerful families in Kuwait by allowing theft to go unpunished. She takes the USB drive. She thanks Samir. She transfers the second half of his payment. And then she begins to plan. She does not act immediately. Acting immediately is what emotional people do. Maha is not emotional. She is strategic. She will wait. She will watch. She will find the perfect moment. The moment when Marisol feels safest. When Fahad feels most secure in his secret. And then she will strike in a way that destroys them both without leaving her fingerprints. For the next 19 months, from October 2021 through May 2023, Maha watches. She collects more evidence. She waits for the moment when the damage will be maximum and the escape routes will be zero. That moment comes in May 2023, when Marisol gets promoted at work and texts Fahad, I feel like my life is finally stable. Maha reads that text on her own device, mirrored through the surveillance Samir maintains. And she thinks, perfect. Let me show you what stability really means. On May 15, 2023, she picks up the phone and calls her father. Papa, I need a favor. The phone call lasts 3 minutes and 42 seconds. Maha sits in her father's study on the afternoon of May 15, 2023, with the door closed and her voice steady, explaining the situation the way you would explain a business problem that requires a business solution. Papa, Fahad has been involved with a foreign worker, a Filipina receptionist at Premier Medical Complex. It has been going on for years. I need her removed. There is a pause on the other end. Khalid Al-Qasimi does not ask if she is sure. He does not ask what she means by removed. He has not built his empire by needing things explained twice. What do you need from me? Dr. Nabil Hassan runs that facility. He is your friend. I need her employment terminated in a way that ensures she cannot stay in the country. Another pause. This is what you want? This is what needs to happen. And Fahad. I will handle Fahad. Her father does not argue. In their family, wives manage domestic matters. If Maha says this needs to happen, it needs to happen. I will make the call today. Thank you, Papa. Maha. His voice shifts slightly, the only warmth he ever shows her. Are you certain Fahad is worth keeping? She does not hesitate. He is mine. That is enough. They hang up. Khalid sits at his desk for 30 seconds, then opens his contacts and finds Dr. Nabil Hassan's private number. They have known each other for 26 years. They sit on 2 of the same boards. Their families vacation at the same compounds in the south of France. The call is brief. Khalid does not explain why. He simply says, there is a worker at your facility, Filipina, Marisol de la Cruz. She has become a problem for my family. I need her removed quietly. I trust you will find an appropriate reason. Dr. Nabil, who has built his career on understanding which favors must be returned and which requests cannot be refused, says simply, consider it done. On the morning of May 20, 2023, Marisol de la Cruz arrives at Premier Medical Complex at 7:52 a.m. She is wearing the new uniform that came with her recent promotion to senior receptionist. Fits better than the old one. Costs more. She paid for it herself because the raise meant she could afford small luxuries now. She texts Fahad from the locker room, "Good morning, husband, 2 hearts." He replies 30 seconds later, "Good morning, wife. Have a good day. I love you." She smiles at her phone, locks her locker, walks to the front desk. At 9:15 a.m., the phone at the desk rings. It is Dr. Nabil's secretary. Dr. Nabil needs to see you in his office immediately. Marisol's stomach tightens slightly. Immediately is never good. But she has done nothing wrong, so she tells herself it is probably about scheduling or a new procedure. She walks to the administrative wing, knocks on his door, is told to enter. Dr. Nabil is sitting behind his desk with his hands folded. His face is not unkind, but it is closed. Next to him stands the head of security and the HR manager. This is not about scheduling. Miss Dela Cruz, sit down please. She sits. Her hands are folded in her lap. Professional, careful. There has been a serious accusation. The room tilts slightly. Sir, controlled medication has gone missing from our pharmacy. Security footage shows you had access during times when these medications disappeared. Her brain tries to process this. Sir, I don't handle medication. I work the front desk. The footage shows otherwise. The head of security opens a laptop, turns it toward her. The screen shows CCTV footage of a hallway. A timestamp, May 17th, 11:47 p.m. A figure walks past the pharmacy, pauses, uses a keycard to enter. The angle makes it hard to see the face clearly, but the uniform matches hers. The body type is similar. Sir, I wasn't working that night. I finish at 8 p.m. I was at home. Then how do you explain this? Someone must have used my ID. Please check the full footage. Check the sign-in logs. I wasn't here. Dr. Nabil looks at the HR manager, who slides a paper across the desk. It is a pharmacy inventory report. Highlighted in yellow, tramadol, 50 tablets missing. Alprazolam, 30 tablets missing. Sign-out log shows her employee ID number. Miss Dela Cruz, I have known you for 5 years. I am deeply disappointed. Sir, I didn't do this. Please, someone is setting me up. But even as she says it, she knows how it sounds. It sounds like exactly what guilty people say. The termination letter is already prepared. Effective immediately. Reason, theft of controlled substances. Her ID badge is deactivated while she sits there. She is told to collect her personal belongings. Security will escort her. She wants to scream. She wants to demand they check everything, review every camera, call her coworkers who know she leaves on time every day. But the men in this room have already decided. Their faces are closed. The decision was made before she walked in. At 9:43 a.m., 2 security guards walk her to her desk. The lobby is full of patients. Her coworkers stop what they are doing and stare. She packs her belongings into a small box with shaking hands. A photo of her family, coffee mug, a sweater that stays in her drawer for cold days in the air conditioning. Rania, the supervisor, walks past and says loud enough for others to hear, I always knew something was wrong with you. Marisol does not respond, cannot respond. She just holds the box and walks between the 2 guards toward the exit. A patient she has checked in dozens of times takes out his phone and starts recording. She keeps her head down. The automatic doors slide open. The heat outside hits her like a wall. She stands on the sidewalk at 9:58 a.m. holding a box of her life and feeling like someone has reached into her chest and pulled out the parts that kept her upright. She tries to call Fahad. It rings 4 times, goes to voicemail. He is in a meeting. She texts, something terrible happened. Please call me. She tries to call 8 Carmen. Carmen answers in a whisper. Marisol, I can't talk right now. Everyone is watching. I'm sorry. The line goes dead. She tries to call her mother, but it is 4 a.m. in the Philippines and the phone just rings. She stands alone on that sidewalk for 11 minutes. Then she walks to the bus stop because she cannot afford a taxi and sits on the bench with the box in her lap and tries to understand how her life disintegrated in 37 minutes. What she does not know is that at 10:15 a.m., Dr. Nabil calls the police and files a formal report. Theft of controlled substances. Evidence, security footage, inventory logs, employee testimony. Suspect, Marisol Dela Cruz, foreign worker, current location unknown. At 2:30 p.m., police arrive at her staff housing. She has been sitting on her bed for 3 hours, staring at her phone, waiting for Fahad to call back. When the knock comes, she thinks maybe it is Carmen or Lynn coming to check on her. It is not. 2 officers. One holds a warrant. Marisol Dela Cruz? Yes. You are required to come with us for questioning regarding theft of controlled substances from Premier Medical Complex. There has been a mistake. I didn't steal anything. You can explain at the station. She is not handcuffed, but she is not free to refuse. She gets into the police car with her phone and her ID and nothing else. They drive to the station in Salmiya. She is walked into an interrogation room that smells like stale coffee and cleaning solution. Metal table, 3 chairs, fluorescent lights that hum. A detective sits across from her. Male, maybe 52 years old, tired eyes. He opens a folder, shows her the same footage, the same logs. This looks very serious, Miss Dela Cruz. Do you understand what you are accused of? Yes, but I didn't do it. Someone used my ID. Please check the attendance records. I wasn't there that night. We checked. Your card was used to clock in at 11:32 p.m. Then someone cloned my card. Please, check the cameras at the entrance. You'll see I didn't come in. The detective makes a note, but his face does not change. You understand the penalty for this crime? If convicted, you will serve time in prison, then be deported. Your family back home will know what you did. This is when Marisol realizes what is actually happening. This is not about finding the truth. This is about processing her guilt as efficiently as possible. The interrogation continues for 4 hours. The same questions, different angles. Where were you that night? Who has access to your ID? Have you used controlled substances? Have you sold medication? Have you been in financial trouble? At one point she says, I want to call my husband. What husband? Your visa shows you are single. I'm married to a Kuwaiti man. He can help me. The detective looks at her with something close to pity. Miss Dela Cruz, many women in your situation claim relationships that do not exist. If you are married, show me the contract. It's at his apartment. Let me call him. Please. They let her try. She calls Fahad's number 5 times. It rings and rings. No answer. She does not know that at this exact moment, Maha is sitting with Fahad in their living room, holding his phone, watching it light up with Marisol's name, and letting it ring out. Each time, at 7:40 p.m., someone pays Marisol's bail. The payment is anonymous, processed through a lawyer she has never heard of. Later, she will realize it was Fahad using a third party. But right now, all she knows is that she is released on the condition that she report to the police station every week. Her passport is confiscated. Her visa status is marked under investigation. She takes a taxi back to her housing because the buses have stopped running. She sits in her room in the dark. At 8:17 p.m., Fahad finally calls. Marisol, what happened? She tells him everything. The accusation, the footage, the arrest, the passport. Who paid my bail? I did, through a lawyer. I couldn't come myself. Why not? There is a long pause. Then he says, Maha knows. The floor drops out from under her. What? She knows everything. She has known for months. She showed me videos today. Our videos, from the apartment. She has been watching us. Fahad, what are you saying? She did this. The accusation. The police. All of it. She orchestrated this to destroy you. Marisol cannot speak, cannot breathe. Fahad continues, his voice breaking. If I try to help you openly, she will make it worse. She threatened to charge you with adultery, to make sure you are imprisoned. I have to stay silent or she will finish you. So you are just going to abandon me? I am trying to protect you. By doing nothing? Marisol, please. She hangs up, sits in the dark, and for the first time since this began, she understands fully. She was never safe. The marriage was never protection. It was just another way to be used by someone who needed a hiding place. Over the next 3 weeks, from May 21st to June 10th, Marisol's life completes its collapse. She cannot work. She cannot leave the country. She cannot afford rent. Her roommates avoid her. The Filipino community whispers. Church friends stop calling. She tries to reach Fahad 17 times. He never answers. She goes to his bank. Security will not let her inside. She goes to the apartment where they were married in secret. The locks have been changed. On June 10th, she receives a text from an unknown number. If you want to talk, I can help. This is Fahad. She stares at it for 10 minutes, then types, You are a coward. 2 hours later, another message. Please meet me once. I need to explain. The apartment. June 14th, 11 p.m. She should refuse. She should block the number. But she needs to hear him say it to her face, that he chose his comfortable prison over her. She responds, I'll be there. On the evening of June 14, 2023, At 10:51 p.m., Marisol arrives at the apartment building in Salmiya district. She has not slept properly in 3 weeks. Her clothes hang loose. Her eyes are hollowed out. She stands outside for 4 minutes, thinking about leaving, about blocking his number, about letting him live with whatever guilt he might feel. But she needs to hear him say it to her face, that she was never worth the risk. She walks up to the 3rd floor, knocks at 10:58 p.m. Fahad opens immediately. He looks wrecked, thinner, his shirt wrinkled, eyes red. He has been drinking. Marisol. She walks past him into the apartment that used to feel safe. Now it feels like a crime scene before the crime. They stand in the living room. She does not sit. Why am I here, Fahad? Because I need to explain. Why I couldn't. Why you abandoned me. I was trying to protect you. She laughs bitterly. Protect me? I was fired. Arrested. My family thinks I'm a criminal. You protected nothing. He tells her everything. Maha's surveillance. The hacked phone. The videos collected. How Maha used her father to orchestrate the false accusation. How she threatened to charge Marisol with adultery if he intervened. I stayed silent because if I fought, she would have buried you completely. You stayed silent because you were scared. Not for me. For yourself. Her voice cracks. You could have warned me. Given me a chance to leave. You did nothing. She shows him the termination letter on her phone. Someone filmed me being escorted out. My mother saw it. Do you understand? She thinks I stole drugs. Fahad is crying. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. Sorry does nothing. I did choose you. I married you. You married me in secret. You kept me in a box so you could have peace without consequences. I wasn't your wife. I was your hiding place. The words land like stones. He reaches for her hands. She pulls away. He reaches again, desperate. Don't touch me. But he grabs her wrists, not violently but firmly, like if he can just hold her still, make her listen, she will understand. You have to see the position I was in. She tries to pull away. His grip tightens. Let go of me. They struggle. She is fighting with 3 weeks of rage. He is drunk and desperate. They stumble toward the kitchen. She is screaming. You don't get to touch me like everything is fine. His grip on her wrists is too tight. It hurts. Something in her brain, compressed for 3 weeks, finally snaps. Her hand lands on the kitchen counter. Feels something heavy, cold, marble, the mortar and pestle they used to grind spices together. She grabs it, swings. The first impact hits his left temple at 12:19 a.m. The sound is wet and hard. Fahad releases her, staggers. Blood runs between his fingers. Marisol, what? She is breathing hard. Her brain screams at her to stop, but her body is still in fight mode. He is still standing, still looking at her with those eyes that once made her feel safe. She swings again, this time the back of his skull. He falls, knees first, then hands, then face. She stands over him. He makes a sound that is not quite words. Her arm raises a 3rd time. This strike stops the sound. The apartment goes silent except for her breathing. The mortar drops from her hand and clatters on tile. She looks at her hands, covered in blood. She looks at him, not moving. She slides down the refrigerator until she is sitting on the floor, knees to chest, staring at what she has done. At 3:47 a.m., a neighbor notices the door slightly open, calls police. At 4:15 a.m., officers find Marisol in blood-soaked clothes. Fahad on the floor with a shattered skull. Photos on the walls showing a couple who looked happy. I killed him. He hurt me. I was scared. I didn't mean to keep hitting. By 7 a.m., Maha is informed. Her performance is flawless. She collapses, cries, "That woman? She must have been obsessed with him, stalking him." The media runs with it by noon. Filipino worker murders Kuwaiti banker in obsessive rage. The narrative writes itself. Desperate foreign worker. Wealthy local man. Fatal obsession. The marriage contract has been removed from records through Maha's connections. The videos wiped by Samir. Maha's surveillance invisible. No fingerprints. 3 months later, Fahad's lawyer receives a sealed envelope, filed with instructions to open upon his death. Inside, a letter dated March 20th, 2021. If something happens to me, please help Marisol. She deserves better than this. The lawyer sits with it for 2 days. then files it with the court on September 28, 2023. The trial shifts. Evidence of the marriage emerges. Evidence of Maha's surveillance. The narrative becomes complicated. A woman systematically destroyed by power who struck back when cornered. The verdict in December 2023, manslaughter. 12 years. Maha is never charged. Her father's lawyers argue no direct involvement. The hacker has disappeared. Dr. Nabil claims legitimate concerns. No fingerprints. In February 2024, Marisol's mother sits across from her through prison glass. How did this happen? I loved the wrong person, Mama. Come home. Please just come home. I can't. Not for 12 years. Outside, Maha attends a charity gala in black, accepts condolences, donates in his name, returns to a villa that belongs entirely to her now. She won everything, lost nothing. And Marisol, who once counted coins in a house with a leaking roof and believed hard work would save her, sits in a cell counting days until she can go home. The woman who orchestrated the destruction walks free. The woman who swung the weapon serves 12 years. And somewhere in that injustice is the question no one wants to answer. When the system is built to protect power, what does justice even mean?